All right, today we're going to be discussing the horsepower cheat code, and if you've ever considered E85, or you've wondered about E85, or just wanted to know what the hell is going on, you've landed on the right video. We're going to be going over the pros, the cons, exactly how you get horsepower out of E85, so let's get into it. To the Jumbotron of knowledge. So, the paradox is, with gasoline inside of a gallon of gas, it contains 114,000 BTUs. E85 only contains 82,000 BTUs. So by gallon, E85 is roughly 30% less raw explosive energy over gasoline, but people switch to it on the same exact engine and unlock 50 to 100 horsepower on the dyno. What's going on? Why is that happening? So what's going on here is, number one, the 30%, well, it's not that big of a deal. Because E85 brings its own oxygen to the party, you only have to run a 9.7 to 1 air-fuel ratio, where gasoline you got to run a 14.7 air-fuel ratio. So that means right out of the gate, you're going to be dumping about 30 to 35% more fuel inside of the engine. Now, this does come at a cost. That 30 to 35%, that means you're going to be burning 30 to 35% more fuel. You're going to need a 30 to 35% bigger fuel system, and you're going to get 30 to 35% less fuel mileage. Now, that doesn't explain anything because right now, well, that's just equaling it out. That's the difference. So what's going on here? First off, let's talk about the molecules. So this is your gasoline molecule, hydrogen and carbon. This is what it looks like right there. On the ethanol, you'll notice that it has an oxygen molecule in here. This, number one, allows you to run a fatter mixture. Number two, it helps this chemical reaction burn more efficiently because it's already got oxygen inside of the molecule itself. So you don't have to add quite as much oxygen to it. Gasoline, it has no oxygen inside the molecule, so all the oxygen has to come from an external source, and then you have carbon molecules attached together. Yes, E85 does have two of them, but there's a lot more than two carbon molecules attached together in gasoline, so this isn't going to burn as efficient as E85. So here's where you're going to get a lot of power. This is the latent heat vaporization. So essentially, like when you see that girl at the beach and she's spraying herself with the water bottle and she's cooling off, she's not just cooling off because she's wet. When water or a liquid turns into a vapor, it cools the air around it, right? Now gasoline does it just on a normal scale, about as much as like spraying water would be, right? Ethanol does it 2.5 times better. So that means you're going to get a violent reduction of heat inside of the intake or inside of the blower or whatever you're shooting it inside of because it does it 2.5 times better. So it's going to have a bigger cooling effect, which is going to remove knock, and it's going to allow you to run more compression, more boost, all that good stuff, and it's going to bring more power to the party. Essentially what's going to happen is cold air is a denser air. It's going to have more oxygen molecules inside of it. A hotter air, things are moving around, things are spread out. It's going to have less oxygen inside of it. Think about it like this, like if you empty a 2-liter bottle of soda, you put the cap on there, the bottle's full, and you put that in the freezer, when you pull it out, the bottle will be collapsed down. That's because the air is taking up less space. So you can put more air inside of it, hence more oxygen inside of a intake stroke, and therefore if there's more oxygen inside of the intake stroke, you can put more fuel in there, ultimately boosting your power. Same thing happens in reverse. If I take a bottle out of the freezer and I put the cap on there, there's no pressure at all, and then I put it out in the sun, if I crack that bottle open and go psh, because now the air, the space, we're not just going to say oxygen, but the air as a whole, because it's going to have the same oxygen molecules inside of it, is taking up more space. So when your piston goes down, it sucks that in, there's less oxygen in there, therefore you can run less fuel. So what's happening with the E85 is because it's cooling it down 2.5 times more than fuel does when it turns into a vapor, it condenses it down, there's more oxygen in there, so therefore you can run more E85. Now the next big advantage is E85 at the pump is going to have 105 to 108 octane. That is amazing. At the pump you can typically get 91 or 93 and it's expensive. E85 is like, what, $3 a gallon? That shit is cheap. This is basically the poor man's race fuel. This is going to allow you to run a static compression between 13.5 and 14 to 1. That's 15 to 20% higher than your 91 octane. For boost, you're going to be at pressures at like 22 to 25 psi. That's 50 to 80% higher then you can run with 91 octane. The coolness plus the added octane is going to reduce knock. It's going to give you knock resistance. It's going to cool you, giving you more aggressive ignition timing, giving you just more horsepower as a whole. You're able to compress that mixture down farther without it pre-detonating and set it off. Plus, again, you can throw more ignition timing on it, picking up horsepower there as well. Typically, per pound of boost, with 93 octane, you're going to pick up 8 to 12 horsepower per pound of boost. You're going to ultimately run into a knock limit, and that's going to limit the horsepower. With E85, because you're cooling it and you're adding more oxygen to the party and more octane, you're going to pick up between 15 and 20 horsepower per pound of boost. That's amazing. So real world examples here, with 10 pounds of boost on E85 can easily add 150 to 200 horsepower. Now, obviously that matters on the actual engine itself, because if we're throwing 10 more pounds of boost on something that already had 50 pounds of boost, obviously we're going to get more than 150 to 200 horsepower. But standard, street use, 10 pounds of boost can easily add 15 to 20 horsepower running E85, where pump gas on that same application would only add about 100. Now, there is a tax. So, obviously, like I said, your fuel system's got to have 35% more by volume. You're going to have to upgrade your fuel pump, you're going to have to upgrade your lines, and you're going to get 35% less gas mileage. It's also very corrosive. It's hydroscopic, so you're going to need PTFE hoses are mandatory. You also don't want it exposed to raw aluminum, otherwise it can cause damage to that. Hydroscopic means it absorbs water out of the air. So even inside of a plastic jug, it can literally pull moisture in. Not ideal. Winter blends are going to drop from E85 to E60 or E70 to be able to start in those colder months. So if you're buying E85 in the winter, if you don't have a true flex fuel sensor to adjust your timing accordingly, you could run into a dangerous situation and cause engine problems. So you got to have the technology to back it up to adjust itself. Now, some of the hot rodders that don't use that technology, they have a little test kit. So they'll go to the gas station, they'll put some E85 in a can, put in this little thing, it'll measure how much alcohol is actually in there compared to gasoline to make sure it's actually E85 before they pump it in. That's how they get around not having the tester. So you can either have a sensor that's going to detect what percentage of fuel is in there and have your computer programmed accordingly, or you're going to have to be testing your fuel at the gas station, or a lot of hot rodders just don't run their hot rod vehicles in the wintertime. Shelf life is also 3 times shorter than gasoline. 1 to 3 months. Now, obviously, if it's in a sealed metal barrel, it's going to last a lot longer, probably in years. Inside of a sealed fuel cell, a lot longer, but a vented fuel cell, or in open air, 1 to 3 months, and it's trash. Gasoline can last 3 to 6 months in those same conditions. The good news is it does burn cleaner, so you're going to get less carbon. You're going to have better exhaust gas temperatures for your turbos. Like I said, the winter tax, it's hydroscopic, so it's going to absorb moisture, especially in the winter. And what will happen in the wintertime is because you have gasoline mixed with the E85, that's only 85% alcohol, the rest is gasoline. The alcohol is going to absorb water, and that water is going to make the alcohol heavier than the gasoline, so it's going to separate. So at your tank, it'll be water, E85, which will be mixed together. That's at the bottom, and then the gasoline will be floating at the top. So it's not a bad idea to drain off a little bit at the bottom should you leave it in your tank all year round. I don't recommend that. Typically the operation is, as summer's coming to an end, you're going to drain your tank. You're going to pull back the timing, and then you're going to go fill it up with 93 octane, run it around for a while, make sure it's all flushed out, then park it for the winter. Then in the summer, you just drive slow, don't really get in the throttle. Once your gasoline's gone, you run a tank of E85, then on your second tank, then you crank back up the timing, and you get back into it. Or boost. So, it's going to destroy rubber hoses, fuel lines, not good at all. Also, on a protected aluminum, it can be corrosive to it. Again, the PTFE lines are absolutely mandatory when you're talking about E85. Anyways, I hope that helped you not answer the question, do I want to run E85, but help you come up with the right questions to ask to come up with the solution, do I want to run E85? If you're looking to make big power, and especially be able to switch from the track to the street, E85 is the best way to go, without a doubt. You're not going to get any more power from 93. And going with race fuel, oh, that's expensive. That's what, $15 a gallon? or I can buy E85 that does almost the same exact thing, but at $3 a gallon.
That's cool. $3 fuel, outperforming $14 fuel.
So that is a decision you're going to have to make. Anyways, appreciate you guys watching my video. If you'd like to help support the channel, click on that Amazon affiliate link in the description. Even if you don't buy what that link is for, just clicking on it. Doing the Amazon shopping you were already going to do anyway, it'll kick back forward because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.